When I got the request to beat 2005's Ultimate Spider-Man for PS2, I got quite excited. I have vague but good memories of little me devouring people as Venom, and losing horribly to the Human Torch in incredibly difficult races. More than that, the Ultimate Spider-Man comic that ran from 2000 to 2011 is one of my absolute favorite comic lines, even after 5+ years since I read it all. In fact, this challenge got me to reread it all again, and it's as great as I remember, despite how all these 15-year-olds look terribly aged for their youth in that unfortunate period of time when Peter's head looks like a beach ball. This is a comic that has always heavily touched me, and I could very likely trace my love for comics and Spider-Man in general back to it. Plus, it always made me laugh, and that's key to any great Spidey time. But the question is, which challenge best suits this beautifully styled game? I thought about no webs, but the crooks in this town refuse to stay down if they're not webbed up, no matter how much of a thrashing they endure. I'm convinced every random thug in this world has super durability, and I really put that theory to the test. Winning without dying seems too easy, so how about we do it without dodging, as the title gives away? But unlike its modern successors, Ultimate Spider-Man lacks a dedicated dodge button, as Peter must jump in order to dodge whenever his spider sense goes off. Which is every second of his day, since every single person in New York is either perpetuating a crime or being the victim of said crime. Probably why everyone looks so much older in this world. The stress is getting to them. So while I may jump to my heart's content whenever my spider sense, the little tingle above my head, isn't going off, I'm not allowed to jump or web sling away when it is, as that counts as a dodge. Because Peter doesn't have enough bruises and broken bones as is. Let's go add a good deal more to his collection. Oh, and also, I'm going to try to minimize how much I spoil the comic, but I will be jumping between it and the game, so you are spoiler warned. Eddie Brock is the world's biggest creep in the Ultimate Universe, emphasis on creepy, and it's Peter's misfortune to be the target of his anger. Sure, Peter did steal the symbiote suit after Eddie showed it to Pete in confidence, since it was Peter and Eddie's dads that made the suit in pursuit of curing cancer before the evil rich people in charge took it away. But at least Peter rids himself of the suit almost immediately when it proves uncontrollable. Uncontrollable as in almost leading to Peter devouring a man, and then almost being devoured in turn by the suit. Of course, seeing his special cancer-curing suit on TV tells Eddie everything he needs to know, and it's his turn to goop up for revenge. That's how we find ourselves fighting in the middle of the school's football field, drenched in suitless. I must say it's always jarring to see Venom without any sort of symbol on his chest. It's really not working for him. Just as it's not working for me to get eaten, but thankfully as the very first fight of the game, Venom isn't really putting up much of a fight. Still, with him draining me throughout, he's getting healthier while I'm getting weaker, so it's good he gets confused easily, running into a wall aimlessly before the police arrive. In the excitement, Venom fails to notice the damaged power line behind him, which proves to be a shocking discovery for him. Cue a 3-month time jump where Peter deals with the X-Men, Kingpin over and over, a really bad beatdown from Doc Ock, never-ending goblin troubles, Carnage creepiness, a massive skirmish with Black Cat, Elektra, Moon Knight, Iron Fist, Shang-Chi, and Hammerhead all at once, became friends with the Fantastic Four, especially the Human Torch, then friends with Doctor Strange, and fought the Punisher, Boomerang, Electro, Scorpy, Silver Sable, Vulture, plus more X-Men shenanigans, including getting body swapped with Wolverine, and a host of other troubles that take place over almost 90 glorious issues. Most likely, anyway. The timeline of this game to the comics is a bit wonky, with the continuity in question, but the events of the game do take place starting in issue 123, if somewhat differently. And shortly after that, there's a 6-month time jump, plus another month that passes before Peter turns 16, whereas he has been 15 the entire series, so I guess Peter just has the most insane 3 months. No wonder he's sleeping in class with all that going on. But before that time jump, there's the story of this game. Now properly dressed, thanks to MJ's sewing skills, I can engage the first fight, post-Venom, and I'm happy to see it's my old failure friend, Herman Schultz, aka Shocker. Say what you will about how horrendously bad Shocker is at robbing anyone, which yes, he is so bad that Peter doesn't even throw a punch here, instead webbing his gloves until Shocker vibrates himself into unconsciousness. But regardless of how bad he is, he has the best lawyers. He must, since it's never long before I find his familiar face at the end of my fist as I traverse the city. not only the best lawyers, but his perseverance skills rival Peter's, in that he never gives up no matter how much he sucks at this. I guess it goes to show that just because you never quit doesn't mean you'll ever win if you never adapt. But A+ for effort? Maybe B- more like? The same goes for all these endless criminals prowling the streets. No matter how foolish it is to battle superhuman Spider-Man or the host of other heroes in town, these guys never quit and keep popping up. Peter even devotes whole patrols to beating them back to back, all within a short distance from each other. They're that common. Common in number and common in skill, as it's not difficult to use my webs to keep them trapped while I beat them into nap time. I figured out pretty quickly that if I don't use my web combos to fight, the death of Spider-Man is going to be the title of this story, since Peter can't dodge, which is pretty crucial as the thugs do so love their firearms. I wish they loved their cars as much as they love their guns, so they'd stop shooting through the roof to hit me, but I am already ruining the car, so I guess it doesn't make much of a difference, especially when the car explodes, likely killing the thug I had pinned to it. But we're gonna blame natural causes for that one. Better to skedaddle and go racing instead. Which, yes, like I mentioned, little me lost his mind facing off against Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch, in races as a little kid. But I think that was because I was little, as Johnny really isn't much trouble to stay ahead of. I even feel bad and wait for him to catch up with me, so it's a closer race. There are more races against him to do if you do enough of the time trials in the city, but I'm only willing to do so many because these races, unlike Johnny's, are so much more intense. Each race has several medals, with the ultimate medal being the goal, but I'm pretty sure you have to sell the soul of your firstborn to win these, and after over a dozen redos on this one race alone, I was ready to sell little Grundy's soul if needed. Pretty sure he already sold it for more veggies though, and so I'm forced to resort to many retries until I get it one. One out of dozens. I think I'll take my one ultimate medal and settle for gold in the rest. Maybe the city needs me focused on stopping actual crimes more than it needs me racing around in a competition with my superhero bestie. As great of a friend Human Torch is, and he really is probably the best friend Peter ever has had, MJ aside I mean, I'd rather spend all my time getting beaten down by the Green Goblin than lose my sanity trying for ultimate in all these races. But don't hold me to that. While Peter struggles to climb a single building, let's switch over to Venom's point of view. Eddie has been hanging out in the park, telling stories, eating people, spying on Peter, and eating more people. It's his main hobby. If he doesn't eat them, he certainly makes sure they're never getting up again. I also love that in the pause menu, everyone else is spinning rather normally, but Venom, he's just itching to eat people and break bones. Look at them gross little claws, he is excited. Good thing for him, the game literally teaches you how to drain people by starting off with a small, unattended child. Where are the guardians of this kid? Have you seen this city? Murderous criminals are literally a hop away wherever you go. Why would you leave your kid unattended on a barren street at night? This feels like a sacrifice from the universe to appease Venom, and he's not one to say no to a free meal. More like an appetizer though. There's just so many more random people to eat, including Wolverine of all people. The fact that the first mission you get to play as Venom, you fight Wolverine, really shows that this game is all about having fun. Wolverine isn't one for being drained, but the other people in this bar are enough to keep me healthy while I bash the little Canadian all over the room. His below average height is his failing, as Venom's attacks reach far and hit hard, making it overall easy to keep the savage little furball from slicing me up while I pummel him. Hitting his off button, Venom strikes a pose that threatens to break the confines of the comic panels, and we switch back to Pete. The Rhino is on the rampage, and he's doing a great job redecorating the city, much to the displeasure of the inhabitants, but at least I don't have to worry about dodging. Cinematic Peter, though, really should. With the number of injuries he takes on the regular, it is a miracle that Peter is able to move at all, let alone do all the crazy acrobatics he does. What kind of spider has this kind of durability? Durability that is vital, since I'm not allowed to dodge being squished flat as I pound away on Rhino's backside, or the number of other hard-hitting attacks he loves to send my way. Avoiding his ground tremors is partial luck, partial keeping my distance, but I don't have much success with his car chucking. Why did I think it was a good idea to fight in this lot full of things for him to throw at me? I'm headed for a second defeat when Lady Luck shines on me for once, and Peter resiliently holds on after being crushed. This confuses the Rhino so much that he just stands there and lets me take a crack at him. I did pause for a bit and question whether it is fair to take advantage of this lucky and unfair way to win. Peter is the heart of nobility and goodness, always giving his all to do the right thing. But then again, he's also the same guy to take any advantage in a fight he can, however shameful, minus lethal means of course, and I don't see a way out of this besides getting this lucky that will keep me from being crushed, so back to pounding it is. It's not like I have a huge metal stick, nor the army's help like Peter does in the comics. As for no lethal means, well, I'm pretty sure this guy I chucked off a building is perfectly fine and just sleeping. So is this one. Peter is pure good, so I'm sure his good vibes will cushion the fall. The mercenaries sent after Venom, on the other hand, yeah, they're all dead. No way any of them survived this, and they don't even need a long fall for it. Venom doesn't have a spider sense like Peter, but the idea remains the same as I keep him dodging in the middle of combat. But really, with so many morsels to snack on, running out of health isn't much of an issue at this point in time. Not sure how Spider-Man doesn't hear about Venom rampaging through the city, committing mass murder of mercenaries and civilians alike, and throwing cars around like they're pillows. At least comic mercenaries knew to attack him in an isolated area without anyone else around, but they also didn't number in the dozens, so I can't blame them. I must say, I love running into Boomerang or Shocker randomly on the streets and kicking their butts. It makes the city feel really alive. I may have gone a tad too far when I chuck a webbed Boomerang into the water, but I do see him later, so thankfully no murder charge for me. This time. I've played a bit of Venom and a bit of Peter, so now it's time to mash the two back together as I fight for my life as Peter. Peter isn't reacting well to Venom's presence, so if I stay too close to Venom for too long, which isn't long at all, I'm going to get paralyzed with pain and make myself an easy target for more pain. Add on to that, Venom loves to drain me, so this fight comes down to who can dish out more punishment faster. There's nothing fancy about this, but it is a good thing Peter knows how to add on to the damage by bouncing off nearby walls, and all those crimes I've stopped have increased Peter's combo count before he needs to pause, giving me just enough damage to very barely inch ahead of Eddie and take the win. Which is only a win because Silver Sable and her Merc Squad show up, nab Eddie, and leave me cradling my ribs as I choke on the dust they stir up at their departure. That's gonna bite me in the butt later, I'm sure of it. While Peter misuses his time racing, how's Venom holding up as a prisoner? Boulevard Trask, evil corporate overlord, wants Eddie to test the suit out, and if he doesn't, the suit will consume him trapped in that cell, so test he must. In fact, I didn't even notice till reviewing the footage that Eddie is slowly losing health as the suit slowly drains Eddie. This test means chasing Electro around the city, which leads to dozens of cars being blown up, Spider-Man knocked unconscious, and a brawl breaking out between the two supervillains on who gets to finish the wall crawler. It's not the most scientific test I've ever seen, but it's also somehow not the least scientific test I've seen. Electro is the very first true threat Venom faces, as while there are plenty of civilians to feast on, there's also so much electricity here in Times Square that Electro can keep healing too. Plus, he's not one for staying low enough to beat down, but that's why man invented cars, so that they can chuck them at those who mock them from above. Just have to make sure you take in plenty of nourishment along the way, or Venom is toast. There's two ways to ensure Electro will stop healing. Break all the sources of his electricity yourself, or in my case, since I'm terrible at aiming these cars at the screens, much to the dismay of their owners, simply keep breaking down his health until he has sucked up all the electricity and runs out of places to charge. With Electro zapped, Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. come to the rescue, take one shot at Venom, and then give up and just stand there as he gets away. Not really earning that paycheck, are they? This guy gets it. At least Fury saved Peter. Nick Fury is such a complicated figure in Peter's life, having caused Peter as much trouble as he has prevented for him. But at the end of the day, Nick Fury sees the good in Peter. As Fury even said, with every bit of hell Peter goes through constantly, it would be so easy seeing Spider-Man become the next big supervillain. But even cynical, paranoid Nick Fury must admit Peter is on his way to becoming one of the greatest heroes, someone truly special. I think MJ says it best though. What's so special about Peter Parker? Everything. Having come so close to death, Peter could head home to his loving aunt, the main source of love and support in Peter's life, the true mom to Peter when they've both lost all other family. Or he could go run around and do more races, which I guess is one way to spend his time as well. Sorry, Aunt May, no one gives me medals for being a good nephew. I do very nearly die to an extra hardy laser gun toting thug while on patrol, but at least I know I would have died with all those racing medals to my name. It's while swinging around that I come face to face with the mercenary criminal, the Beetle. While I lament that this ultimate variant isn't wearing his original costume, as I feel I'd have an easier time if he was, the people of this city are put in more danger thanks to his explosives. I am not the greatest web slinger in the world, so I come far too close to losing them to the flames. Worse than that, here's where I have to question whether web slinging at all here goes against the rules, as it's the only way to keep up with the Beetle, but he is firing at me the entire time. I never jump during his attacks or move out of the way on purpose, he's just an awful shot at this speed, so I don't count anything I'm doing as actually dodging. More, he's just missing. Besides, my real worry isn't getting shot for once, but about keeping up with him, which is easy, except when it's not. Curse these low buildings and realistic web slinging. Whatever happened to using heaven as my anchor for my web? Spider-Man always looks so amazing when he web slings, always so heroic in so many different shots. But when I do it, I'm slamming into every wall possible and moving like a madman, forming a new web every half a second. When I do catch up with Mr. Beetle at the top of this construction building, I accidentally, instinctually dodge away from his attack and so must let him kill me. This is good news in a way, as it really proves he's not very good at killing and takes his time. Too much time, in fact, and I'd rather just dive off the building than let him continue. But the second time around, I see that trying to keep up with the Beetle just isn't doing it, so it's better to stay put and let him come to me. Webs are worthless against him, as all supervillains. Minus Shocker, I guess, if he even counts as a supervillain. But once I'm in close, Beetle struggles to fly away, and I can pummel the bug. As I wait for him to return, it turns out this is a timed fight, with Beetle making his getaway without needing to lose all his health. Unfortunately, he went into the Latvarian embassy, and I am not about to tangle with international law, or even worse, Dr. Doom, so it's better to let that lie for now. Better to help this injured person get to the hospital. Peter always goes out of his way to help out. That's the core of why he does everything he does, so he'd probably disapprove that I hold on to the person and refuse to let them go as the timer isn't close enough to 0 to be dramatic enough. He'd disapprove even more that I forget the button for setting the person down after waiting the 30 seconds and accidentally fail the rescue. Oops. I don't know why that means the woman and the doctor just vanished like they were a figment of my imagination though, but I guess better than the dark alternative. Don't worry, I don't try that again with the second person I find in need. Just like Peter, failing to save one person when I could have saved them is enough for me to get the message and be more responsible. Lest I'm Venom, that is. Turning on his captors, Venom faces off with the skilled mercenary Silver Sable in the streets. She's agile, often rolling out of my attacks and hitting me back with kicks and her laser gun, but I probably would have had less trouble if I wasn't distracted with the out of bounds line bouncing me around. Strangely captivating for my easily distracted mind, but thankfully Silver Sable reminds me I am fighting for my life. Very barely overcoming her with Venom's far-reaching strikes, I'm not surprised when her reinforcements instantly put me down. This city is so full of Silver Sable's wild pack, with endless soldiers, trucks, and helicopters gunning for me no matter where I go. The goal is to survive and kill for as long as I can, but that's not long as the gunfire never ceases and the helicopters tear through the suit's health. Only by seeking cover in these alleyways, scurrying out to feed on nearby foes before hiding again, am I able to survive this onslaught. While Venom goes to ground, Peter chats away with MJ on what was up with the Beetle and how to handle it. Growing up on Ultimate Comics MJ and Peter, then also reading much of their main 616 counterparts, I've always loved their relationship. It's not perfect by any means, but it always has so much heart. As much as Ultimate Spider-Man is about saving people and doing right, it's also largely about MJ and Peter and how no matter how bad the rest of the world gets, no matter how tough their own relationship can be, they always find their way back to each other and ease each other's burdens immeasurably. Their relationship does wonders in exploring what drives both of them. and without each other, they'd be far worse off both in life and possibly as people. It's dramatic and silly at times, but their relationship is such a large part of the heart of this series that it would be so much less than without it. It's evident in all realities, Peter and MJ's relationship is often the cornerstone to so many amazing stories and brings out the best in both of them. The true heart of Peter Parker, as with most of us, lies in those around him after all, MJ and Aunt May most of all. But where there is great love on one side of his life, there's also great hate as who pops out of the Latverian embassy but Green Goblin himself, Norman frickin' Osborn. He's the one that the Beetle freed before I got on his trail, and now it's Goblin's burning trail I must chase. Unlike Beetle, he's more interested in killing me than escaping, something he does with ease as I'm distracted by saving the people he just put in danger. Still, saving people isn't that hard when I come back at full health, but who is going to save me when Norman gives me his full attention? Unlike any foe from before, the Green Goblin has to go and ruin everything, because of course Norman does, when he whips out fireballs that track my position. Beetle's blast hadn't tracked me, and the Rhino's stomps could be outdistanced or outlucked, but the Goblins will always hit me. Worse than that, he's also showing his unique brand of evil by being invincible as long as he's a flame, with it only dying down after he's blasted me enough times. There's only one way I can find to avoid his fireballs, and that's by taking cover behind either of these two walls. I have to bait his attacks and then duck behind cover, and more than I like, he'll see what I'm doing and jump closer to either melee strike me, or throw fireballs at me where I won't have cover. Things do get slightly easier when I remember I can jump to cover in between his attacks instead of trying to sprint to safety, but it is not enough. Norman only lets down his guard for 2 combo worth of attacks, with me switching back and forth between punching and kicking as fast as I can to maximize how much damage is done to him. But this success only makes things worse, for you see at half health we change venues and there's even less cover here. Still, Spider-Man never gives up, and this becomes my life for an hour. An hour with dozens of losses, as I must slowly come to terms with the fact that in order to beat Norman Osborn, Spider-Man must dodge. I did find a way to survive his fireballs as you guys saw, but once we reach that second phase, there's no way out of it. Not because of the fire to the face, but because not only do his fireballs track me magnetically, but Norman's crashing leap does as well. Which I just hope to tank through, but he will do the leap 4 times in a row, and if a single one hits you, which it absolutely will without dodging as it covers so much distance, Osborn will then start the whole process over again, never becoming vulnerable to damage. I tried everything I can think of to prevent it, but there's no other way. The best I can do is make sure to use the podium to prevent getting hit by his fireball and possibly not get hit by his first leap. But the moment the first leap is over, I must jump to avoid his next 2 jumps. His 4th and final one, I can outrun, let him extinguish, and then beat him down before the process starts all over again. 8 times. That's the lowest I can get the dodge counter, but 8 is enough to prove it cannot be beaten without dodging. I should have known it would be Norman Osborn that ruins everything. From the first issue, Norman is there to change Peter's life and cause him endless pain. Peter's always ready to dish it back out and really make it super clear to Norman that he's the most insane, ultra crazy walking evil on the entire planet. There's so many villains in fiction, especially in comics, but to me, Norman Osborn takes the prize as the most hateable of them all. Evil, rich, egocentric CEOs are a dime a dozen, both in fiction and in real life. But Goblin has a special way about him that makes you feel the need to punch that smug grin right off his face. Plus, traumatizing MJ as he did is enough to make me want to knock his block off. I have to thank the Ultimate Spider-Man comic for giving me that hate, and the game now deepening that hate as Norman showed up solely to ruin my day, it seems. In the comics, instead of fighting the Green Goblin, Spider-Man gets taken over by the suit and fights the Ultimates before getting struck by a lightning bolt from Thor. So I guess I should count my blessings that's not what happened here. Now it's Venom versus Beetle, as Bugman wants a sample from the suit. But that's not going to work out for him despite all the traps he set up. I'm not jumping around, so there's no chance I'll fall into one of those. And Venom's range is more than adequate, making it easy to stun the Merc and squash it. Even ending with barely any health left, it's still a great change of pace after the Goblin. While things go great for Brock, things go badly for Parker, as Silver Sable knows who he is and ambushes him. Spider Constitution is nothing to make light of though, as we've seen, and Peter shrugs it off, fighting her and her men. Silver is a very skilled brawler, so she's always ready to defend herself after every combo, meaning if I want to win, it's time to fight smart. Making use of the car to keep the distance between us like a younger sibling running away from an older one, I'm able to stay ahead of her and let her attack mostly in vain, dropping her guard and getting a few hits in myself. As every boss fight, it's a close one, but Silver Sable is beaten, only for Venom to intervene and steal her away. Peter would really rather she not get eaten, so it's time to give chase. The strategy remains the same. Hit faster and harder than Venom can hit me, and hope he misses when he counterattacks. It is not the best strategy, but once again, it's enough to see me through. Only for Spider-Man to pass out from all those sleep darts Sable peppered him with, and dragged away alongside Venom. Captivity isn't our fate for long, as Spider-Man, now Carnage-suited, lays waste to the facility, but much to my surprise and joy, he is one of the easiest fights, giving lots of warning before he'd strike. He's much more interested in running away and healing, making him easy prey. I prefer this over the much more terrifying spectacle found within the comics, and I am very, very glad I didn't get caught up in that. After Venom has consumed the Carnage portion, Eddie finally has control of the suit, but instead of hunger, he's now out for revenge. Bolivar Trask, the man who captured us both and knows what happened to our parents all those years ago, is trying to escape. But now that Silver Sable is off the clock, he has no protection from Venom's wrath. Minus a friendly neighborhood Spidey, that is. Here's where I'm glad for once that someone is in danger of dying that isn't me, as that's what I need to keep Venom distracted from killing me as I work to knock him out before he can shove Trask to his death. I don't get why he doesn't just rip the door open and eat Trask, as that would take far less time, but I'm just glad the idea doesn't occur to him. With the roof engulfed in flames and Trask getting closer to the edge of the building, I have plenty of reason to hurry. But if I rush too fast, Eddie will have little trouble slaying this arachnid. Twice I fall, though I do come quite close to stopping Venom each time, and on the third try I find success when I realize using the stairs I can prevent Venom's long-reaching counter from hitting me. It also helps that Venom prefers to try and claw me, which is far easier to run out of reach of, and since my attacks often keep him stunned in pain, it isn't long before Peter sends Eddie to sleep. Finally, down for the count. Please, just stay down, Edward. As Peter gets caught up reading about their parents, Eddie escapes once again, hunting down and murdering Trask in prison shortly after. So, whoops! At least I gave Trask a little more time to live, I guess. As MJ helps Peter take his mind off the big Venom problem, Venom himself is busy catching rainwater in his mouth and diving off buildings dramatically, as the game comes to a close with both sides now free to play as. Spider-Man's resiliency and dedication to helping everyone he can, despite all the many hits he takes in such a small span of time, inspires everyone around him, both in his world and out here in ours. You can be Venom and drain everyone around you while you try to get what you feel is owed to you, or you can be a Spider-Man and strive to take responsibility, take the hits, and keep doing whatever you can to help, no matter how hard it gets. Both impact everyone around them greatly, but even if I falter, I know who I'd rather strive to be, ultimately. Huzzah! After 5 hours, 8 minutes, and 41 losses, the majority coming from frickin' Norman Osborn, I've beaten most of Ultimate Spider-Man without dodging. Thanks a lot, Gobby, for those 8 strikes against the challenges. This one was rather different, as I really wanted to use this challenge as a bit of a love letter to the comic that helped shape and inspire me, and I hope you all enjoyed this. I thank you very much for the recommendation, and I thank ye all for watching. Remember, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's to hate Norman Osborn. That's a good lesson. Have a great day, friends.